Yeah, if you're a Panthers fan and you're calling for Frank's right job, you're not a Panthers fan. And I'll say that to your face. You're a fake fan. Let's talk about why.
Hey, I thought it was all over.
Okay, this is Roll Coverage. I am your host, Nick. We're getting right into it. I've got so much to talk about, all regarding my Carolina Panthers. Now, I know I've made a lot of videos here as of late. Um, Many regarding the front office and GM, which I will get to. I've actually got about 6, 7 things I'd like to talk about and some tangents I'm going to go on. This might end up being a longer video, but if you're a Panthers fan, please share this and everything. I want to see if we can actually get some Panthers fans on here so we can actually talk about the real issues and start addressing the real problems instead of the scapegoats that are so apparently obvious to everybody. Now, obviously, you can see with the thing up top, there's plenty of theories going around about what we should do. A few that I'm going to address right off rip. I'm going to try to not put anybody on blast, but some people, you're going to see your Twitter handle in here or whatever. I'm just retorting to what people are saying. First one is that we should be upset that we took Bryce Young rather than Anthony Richardson, and rather than than Bryce Young, and we should have taken CJ Stroud or Richardson. Ugh, sorry, total brain fart. But I don't think that is a properly fair comparison. First of all, CJ Stroud is in an offense with Nico Collins and Tank Dell, both of which would be wide receiver 1 and 2 on our team right now. Richardson has, that great Colts defense. And it does have a lot of really interesting pieces on both sides. Obviously, if they could get back Jonathan Taylor, that changes it up quite a bit. But you think that if you were to take Anthony Richardson and throw him in our offense, all of a sudden we would have won games? And if so, is that one win really worth the immediate gratification now and not the long-term gratification of actually having a franchise quarterback? And it's the same thing with Stroud. Yes, Stroud looks great. Don't get me wrong. I like Stroud coming out of college. I really do. I even floated the idea of possibly taking him number 1. That would have been interesting. But to think that he would all of a sudden get dropped into this Panthers offense and now we are, 2-2 instead of 0-4. After that first game, I told everybody we were going to come out of the bye 0-6. And I told everybody the reason why that was going to happen, and that was because of a poor front office and a poor GM. This idea that somehow Bryce Young was meant to come in after 4 games and solve all of the Panthers' problems with again, bottom 7 wide receiver core, bottom 5 secondary in the league, probably bottom 8 or 9 offensive line. We don't want to pay Brian Burns. And there's even some people who are quote-unquote Panthers fans that want us to blow the roster up and trade people like Frankie Luvu and Brian Burns. But we'll get to that. I think that this desire to win right now is clouding so many people's judgment. I'm going to stay focused on those 2 for right now, Stroud and Richardson, because I'm going to get to the other ones. I've got stuff about coaches and the whole 9. But I just don't think that if you were to change it, it would be any better. Personally, if we take Stroud, Bryce Young goes to the Texans and takes Nico Collins and Tank Dell and probably is 4-0 right now. And then we're like, oh, why didn't we take Bryce? Why didn't we do this? Why did we take Stroud? Oh, and then he would look like crap with our crappy wide receiver core. And then people would be like, oh, we should have drafted Bryce, blah, 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 blah. CJ Stroud is the product of his environment and the product of where he went with the pieces around him. We surrounded Bryce Young with wide receiver 3s. I'm going to continue to pound the table with that. Thielen is not a wide receiver 1, period. He wouldn't even be a wide receiver 2 or 3 on the Minnesota Vikings if he was still there. He'd be wide receiver 4 behind Jordan Addison and KJ Osborne. Don't even go. Chark and LaVisca are garbage. I'm sorry. We need better ones. Mingo is the only one that I believe in, and that's because he's new to the system. And again, people are already like, oh, we need to be looking next year for this and that. Like, these tired arguments are just... They're disingenuous to the Panthers organization, to the situation that both or all 3 men are in, and it's wrong. You're a bad Panthers fan if you're out here talking about like, oh, we should have got Stroud or something like that after 4 games. But let's talk about some of the pieces around him. Number one that a lot of people have been talking about is that we should have kept Deontay Foreman over Miles Sanders. Now, before I go any farther, I'm going to tell you this straight up, no sugar added. Deontay Foreman on his best day is not as good as Miles Sanders on his worst day. Deontay Foreman, it was a good, serviceable back at the time. You know why he had some decent numbers? Because he was pretty much the only one. Don't get me wrong. Everyone's going to go to the Lions game. We ran for like 300 yards. But there was also like 40 rushing attempts that game. So I'm going to, hold back on giving Deontay Foreman this laurel about how amazing he is. Do I agree that Chuba Hubbard shouldn't have been the running back one and then just gone from there? Yes, but Miles Sanders is better than Chuba Hubbard, so I understand the move. People are going to talk about that. So I'm going to pull this up. First thing I'm going to pull up is the actual comparison of the two. Okay. This is courtesy of StatHead Football, as you can see. Hopefully you can see it at the top. If you can't, oh well. This is where I'm getting this. I'm comparing the two. Right there, 61-44. Now, one of the things I want people to remember as Panthers fans is this. Deontay Foreman was in the building before Miles Sanders ever got there. So if he was really that good, we would have kept him. But we saw the cliff that he was about to fall off, and we got rid of him when we did. Yes, Miles Sanders is dealing with some injuries, but look at the comparison between the two. It's literally not even close. Deontay Foreman at no point was better than him. Okay? Looks like he also started in 2017, so he's actually got a 2-year head start, but yet has almost half of the rushing attempts, half of the rushing yards. Like, the idea that this man was going to somehow solve stuff is a joke. And if you're calling for this, then you're a joke. Like, I'm sorry, you're a joke. Let's come over here. We're going to come over here. Again, same thing, Pro Football Reference. I'm going to come down. Miles Sanders. 179 attempts, 164, 137, 259, which is obviously why we went to go get him for that 1,200 year. Great year, great year. That Philly team was ridiculous. Now let's come over here. So he had 203 rush attempts and could not even break 1,000 yards. Whereas we had him over here at 164 and 867, 179 and 818. Interesting. These stats are subpar stats. Let me go back. Let me bring you back in here. Those two men are not comparable. Deontay Foreman is not it. Miles Sanders is the better option. So I'm not going to continue to feed into this. The people that I'm talking about mainly, Monty on Twitter, CatCrave has done stuff, all of that where you're like, oh, I want Deontay Foreman. No, you're not looking at it objectively. You're not looking at it as a somebody that wants to win is looking at it. Okay. Now, one of the other things I'm going to bring up, I'm going to come over here and we're going to go to somebody who I love that they put stuff out. I absolutely appreciate them. I think their blog is awesome, and that's CatCrave. Okay. But I'm going to bring this down here and I'm going to open up CatCrave. So from CatCrave, this was just posted the other day. I do not see a date from when it is posted, so I do apologize. Let me try and edit this up a little bit better. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're going to go to their website. They're saying 6 people we should consider trading. I'm going to use CatCrave as an example, though I'm not putting them on blast. I'm just saying that this is an example of where the fandom is and how bad it is, how toxic it is, and how just not gripping with reality people are. And they're just like, we just need to sell this person. We need to sell this. We need to do this. Okay. First thing we're going to go down. They're going to talk about a bunch of different things. Andy Dalton, I would agree with. We should shop him. Okay. Jeremy Chin, I don't disagree. He's got some separation issues. But obviously we don't have anybody to really replace him with. If we would have gotten like a Isaiah Simmons, we could have maybe helped out a little bit in the back, but Jeremy Chin, no. Dante Jackson, we already have a severe problem when it comes to corners, especially losing, J.C. Horn. So I don't agree with getting rid of the secondary for the most part. That's why I'm kind of hesitant on the Chin part as well, even though I do think in the offseason that is something we should explore. Terrace Marshall, we already don't have a good wide receiver core, so let's trade away one of our better ones. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. The 3 wide receivers we need to trade are the 3 that we just got: Adam Thielen, Laviska Shenault, DJ Chark. Period. Frankie Luvu. At the end of the day, business is business. That is exactly why I'm calling out. That's exactly why I made this video, because of shit like this. Stop being an armchair fan. Understand that this is not it's more than just a business. It's the livelihood, and it's building for the future. You want to know what else pisses me off? What's the next one? Brian fucking Burns. You guys, the fans are out here calling for Frank Reich's head, which is the next part that I want to get to. Y'all are out here calling for Frank Reich's head, but yet y'all are telling us to trade Luvu and Brian Burns? Like, that is the most tired thing that I've seen. That is the most toxic thing that I've ever seen to this organization. So we have a bottom 5 secondary, bottom 5 wide receiver core, bottom 5 offensive line, and then you want to trade away our 2 shining pieces on defense, Brian Burns and Frankie Luvu. That's your solution. Oh, also trade away Dante Jackson. Listen, this entire team needs to get better. This entire team has a lot to do. But when this team gave Matt Rule 2+ years, and yet y'all want to fire Frank Reich after 4 games, I am so sad to be a Panthers fan right now, because you guys are not even giving the first Carolina Panthers quarterback, literally in the franchise's history. You're not going to give him time, but you want to go hop over to somebody else. No, you want to have FOMO, essentially, of D'Amico Ryans, of Shane Steichen, of Eric Bieniemy. You guys want to have FOMO over that. I didn't see a bunch of people calling for Eric Bieniemy to come be a Carolina Panther coach. Frank Reich is the right hire. And once this fandom stops asking for his job and gives him the opportunity by giving him a competent GM and competent front office, then we can have that conversation. If he goes 2 years with a new GM and a new front office and they don't do anything, he should go. He's not a good coach at that point. But to sit here and say after 4 games, the GM is safe, the front office is safe, we're going to put the blame on the coach and not the GM that's been there since 2021 and still not paid Brian Burns. Like, I don't understand how you can call yourself a Panthers fan and ask for Frank Reich's job and say that Bryce is a bust and say, oh, we should have gotten Stroud and everything like that, without actually looking at what's happening on the field. I'm over it. I will start calling people out. I've already called out my first person this morning. If you are calling for Frank's job, you are not a fan. You are a fake Panthers fan, and I will continue to call you out. There's a lot that needs to change with this team. I agree. I want my Panthers to win a Super Bowl in my lifetime, but it's not going to be with firing the coach after 4 games. We're not going to be the Jaguars with Urban Meyer. That's not what this is. So stop treating it like it's all Frank's fault. It's not. And again, if you're going to be a fake Panthers fan, maybe you should go back to your real team, because clearly you're not a fan of us. With that, I am Nick. This is Roll Coverage, a fervent supporter of the Carolina Panthers, and I will continue to do so and defend this organization and the people that support it. I'll continue to be there lockstep with you. But once you start coming after the coach for something that has nothing to do with him right now, I will not feed into this. Again, I wish everybody the best, but man, Panthers fans, we need to do better. We need to do better. Have a great rest of your night, though.